Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the 23rd episode of the FPL Wire, powered by DreamSetGo. We are recording ahead of Game Week 25. I'm your host Zophar, and I'm joined, as always, by Twitter stats guru, Big Man Bakar. How's it going, brother?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Zoff. It was a decent game week. I ended up on 99 points, agonizingly one short of 100. Gundogan did me well. He was my captain. Other than that, Fernandez, Cancelo, Tarkowski, Pope helped me accumulate a good source of points. Suchek, as usual, blanked.
Of
But
course.
of
Nobody expected
course, like
otherwise.
surprise, surprise. But now I've activated my wild card, so well, good riddance.
How was Sunday, Bakar?
I spent it playing football with some of my mates.
All right, cool.
I thought you'd be playing billiards for some reason.
I think the fact that Bakar was playing football with some of his mates is going to make a lot of people happy. No commitments yet.
How was your game week, Ella?
Oh, the same shit show it's been all the season. Actually, my team did pretty well. The moves that I made, I sold Son for Sterling, and I sold Ruben Dias instead of Stones for Tarkowski. So I did well on the moves, but you remember we were talking about the whole eye test, and I was worried not owning Gundogan this week, and I went with Sterling for a 1 week punt as a captain. So I managed to get like 84 points with the -4, so that's 18 net. It would have been a lot better if I had Gundogan as my captain instead of Sterling. I would have scored 100 plus. But them's the breaks this season. I'm not pressed the wild card yet. I'm hoping that we get the fixtures as soon as this podcast is up and live. Just for our listeners, likely expecting the Premier League fixtures at 4 p.m. UK time today. That's around 9:30 in the night Indian time. So watch out for those confirmed fixtures. If we don't get the fixtures today, I'm beginning to worry because I think then they'll be released 4 o'clock UK time tomorrow. That gives us, I
One
think,
hour.
1 hour to
No, I think it's
finalize
later,
all.
right? Because there's no earlier kickoff tomorrow. I think it's only the
No,
later
sorry.
kickoff.
Yeah, so I have a couple of hours, 2.5 hours, I think,
Yeah.
to finalize the wildcard if the fixtures do come out tomorrow. Absolutely no plans tomorrow in case fixtures don't come out tonight, and I'm ready to build the wildcard team in a couple of hours. I think what you need to do is just assimilate as much information as possible, and then hope for the best.
Absolutely.
How about you, Zoff? Good week, bench boost that
Yes.
worked out well.
Good week. I love it when a plan comes together. So 115 minus 4, about 26 points gained with the bench boost. And luckily, I don't have to sweat over fixtures now like you guys. I think that's probably, I think, the biggest benefit of it, just sitting there refreshing fixtures. Don't have to be doing that stuff. So it's a nice way to go off. So let's get started. We'll try to keep a pod a little bit shorter, guys, because there's all about just like 24 hours till the deadline. So we'll try keeping it to around 45 minutes today, so you can consume the entire thing before tomorrow's deadline. So
You
before
90-minute pod.
or 90-minute pod today. So if we had the fixtures, we might have, but it seems kind of like pointless doing it now. So before we start, let me just change the slide. A quick word about our sponsors. DreamSetGo is a global portal for fans to gain access to sporting events around the world. Accommodation, flight tickets, hospitality, stadium visits, everything can be tailored exactly to your requirements. They also do celebrity experiences, which include master classes with your favorite sports celebrity or something as simple as birthday shoutouts. You can find links to the products in the description below. The FPL Wire is a part of the Fantasy Scout Network, and all stats used in this podcast are taken from the FFS members area. Please sign up if you haven't already.
Also, we finally set up an FPL Wire league. Thank you for everybody that's joined it. I think we've gotten 2,000 plus members in the league in the first week. That's incredible. In case you haven't joined our league as yet, please do, because I think there are amazing Manager of the Week prizes up for grabs. The league code is DOC0YG. You can see it on the screen as well. And join this league. And if you're Manager of the Week, you're going to win some amazing video shout outs from sports celebrities like Herschel Gibbs, Harbhajan Singh, JJ, Manti Langer. Speaking about JJ, we had our first winner for the Managers of the Week in Game Week 24. And surprisingly, it was an incredibly close contest. I believe the winner won due to a goal scored. Ashwin Nazaret, congratulations to you. You have won a shout out from JJ. Do get in touch with us. You need to email us at the FPL Wire at gmail.com, and then the guys from DreamSetGo will get in touch with you. He scored a massive 138 points, and he took a -4 on top of that, so there was a net 134, and he won on goals scored.
By
Somebody else
Timo
also
Werner. The
by Timo
differentiating
Werner.
goal was by Timo Werner.
Nice, nice.
So
That
a
makes me
Chelsea fan to
happy.
win it. That's nice.
Hmm. Also, I think it's a guy from my city, from Bombay as well. So happy that the first winner of the manager of the week is from my city. Just quickly walking you guys through the agenda. We're going to keep it crisp. We're going to start with Bucker's top three stats. The three teams we're going to be discussing are Chelsea, Leeds United, and Southampton, the two teams that are having a double in Game Week 25. After that, we're going to quickly just browse through the Game Week 26 fixtures and the fixtures after that. Talk you through the poor player pool that Bucker and me and Zophar are considering on our wildcards. Then after that, this usual fare. Hot fixtures, captains, our own teams. I think this week it's just going to be Zophar's team because Bakar and me are likely on wildcard and we don't have a draft yet. Bakar?
Yeah. So as always, I have three stats for our viewers and listeners. The first stat I have is regarding Luke Shaw. So I've been writing about Luke Shaw for weeks, but I think this time seems more appropriate to sort of give him more attention, given that two of us are on wildcard, and there are a lot of other managers in the community who are wildcarding as well. And there are actually a lot of questions regarding differential defenders to go for in the double game week to make up ground. I think Shaw looks to be the standout pick among defenders. In the past 6 games, he has 16 chances created, which is top among defenders. And during this spell, he's second for big chances created too, which makes him top for expected goal involvement among defenders during this period. Um, United have accumulated the second highest amount of big chances at home this season, and now they're coming up against a toothless Newcastle attack, which which indicates that Shaw is a good option not only for the double but also for this week, because he has potentials to deliver like he has serious potential to deliver both ends of the field. What stands out for me when I talk about Shaw's numbers is that his numbers have been consistently great over a sustained period. It's not just happening over 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. So when I even look at a reasonable sample size of even like the past 8 game weeks, he's second for chances created of all players in the league, not just defenders. And I mean, he's created more chances during the past 8 game weeks than even the likes of Bruno and Grealish, which is incredible for a defender. Um, and like he's been delivering as well. I mean, he's accumulated the most assists during the spell. What makes him an even more explosive option, in my opinion, is that given that he has the best minutes per BPS ratio, which is the minutes per baseline bonus ratio of all Man United defenders, that tells me that he has the potential to haul big whenever United are to keep a clean sheet, because that ratio, the BPS ratio that he has, the minutes per BPS ratio, that suggests that he's likely to accumulate bonus as well whenever United are to keep a clean sheet. So, I mean, why don't you talk more about Shaw, given that you're a United fan? Like, talk us through it.
Just a
Fill it.
couple of things I'll add on to what you mentioned.
Yeah.
In addition to his chance creation threat, I noticed in the last couple of games that when we are crossing from the right hand side, Shaw is taking up the Alonso position at the far post. So I feel like he has a goal in him as well. Just something I've noticed in the last couple of games. He's getting a lot closer to goal, especially if we are crossing in from the right hand side. So that's something worth mentioning. I feel like he's got a goal in him. And I feel like his rotation threat is negligible and a little overplayed in the FPL community at 5.0 million. He's a snip and very likely going to be on my wildcard as well. Just under 10% owned as well at the moment.
That's interesting because ultimately I was going to tell you I have three concerns with Shaw. The first one you sort of allayed. Number one was the rotation, right? With
Yeah.
Telles. And like we are discussing, the Sociedad game is actually a difficult one initially
Yeah.
in the Europa League. So I don't know what he's going to do with it. But like you think, I think Shaw is far ahead now, one of your top creative outlets. Number two is the actual potential for clean sheets, right? With that calamity centre back pairing of Maguire and Lindelof, as we saw against West Brom. So do you think many clean sheets around the corner? The fixtures aren't that easy.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm not sure, but I don't know who I prefer at this price point. It's more the price point also. If
At
he
5
was
million.
5.5, 6 million, maybe I think twice about it. But 5 million, I'm happy to take my chances.
That's fair.
I agree with your worry about our defense. I've not been very bullish on our defense all year. I think uh, Fred and McTominay have made our defense look better than it is. They've been protecting their defense pretty well, but we're taking a shout. And especially the Newcastle game and the Palace game,
yeah.
you'd like to think that both are clean sheet fixtures. So yeah,
I mean, at that price, you'd want him long term on the wild card, wouldn't you?
yeah. And about the Europa worry also, so like we were talking, yeah, I am worried that Sosha is a very strong team because Sociedad isn't exactly an easy opposition. But I think the fact that we're on a poor run in the league, and we need to win the points in the league to secure fourth position, I feel like Shaw's nailed. Not
That's
nailed, but I expect him to play 5 or 6 games in the league.
Yep, I do agree. So,
Fair.
and my third
Yeah.
point was going to be regarding injury, but I think he's been relatively better with injury record this year also, right?
Yep. Yep.
Cool. Let's move on to the next one. Salah.
Yeah. The second stat I have for the listeners and viewers is regarding Mo Salah. So this stat is particularly pertinent and relevant to those managers who, like me and Pranil, are on wildcard this week. So a lot of managers, given Liverpool's slump, are considering Salah's place in their wildcard team, given that he costs 12.4, 12.5 million. He's very expensive. So I'd like to quote some stats which kind of serve as a convenient reminder of his ability and his potential. He's still top for big chances in total and big chances scored among midfielders this season, despite the Liverpool slump. And recent form is on his side as well. I mean, he scored a goal very recently in the Champions League. And then even in the past four game weeks, when I look at his stats, he's in the top three for big chances, shot inside the box, and non-pen XG for all players in the league. So, I mean, his stats couldn't be any better. I don't personally see a reason to sell him. Now this week he's coming up against an Everton side who are in the bottom three for non penalty XG conceded over the past four matches. So it's like I won't be surprised even if he braced there or something. So like selling Salah is not for me. I'm gonna keep the faith, and I think Liverpool are gonna bounce back as well.
Agreed.
I'm in agreement at the moment. I'm actually most bullish on Liverpool out of all the teams at the moment. Even a little more so than Manchester City at the moment because the last two fixtures, the last two games that I've seen Liverpool play, even the Leicester game, Liverpool dominated and were in control of that game for about 75 to 80 minutes and then absolutely capitulated in the last 10 minutes. I feel like it's like how we looked at Manchester City a couple of months ago, right? They were 10, 12 points behind first position, and now they are leading the league by 10 points. In this case, you need to trust the manager. You need to trust the team. The players are good, the managers are good. And I feel like they've shown enough in the last couple of weeks for me to be bullish about them. So I'm on my wildcard draft. I'm not looking at just Mo Salah. I'm looking to add Trent Alexander-Arnold in my draft as well because I feel like Liverpool are about to sort things out. I'm just monitoring when Fabinho is back. Any idea how long he's out for, guys? Because I
Not
think
long.
once Fabinho's playing with Kabak and Henderson's moving back to midfield, I think a lot of the problems will be solved.
Isn't
Just to
Kabak
add
by
to the,
itself a problem from the looks of it?
he had a bad first game against Leicester, but apparently he was pretty decent in the Champions League tie against Leipzig.
Okay, I
That's
didn't
what
see
I've
that.
read and heard. Just to add to the stats that Bakar mentioned, he's top of the league in the last four game weeks for big chances accumulated, and he's top of the league in the last four game weeks for shots in the box as well. And I'm mentioning this because I feel like a lot of people like Bakar and me who are going to be on wild card and are maybe looking at using the bench boost in game week 26. I think there's going to be a decision and a very difficult one between Bruno Fernandes and Mo Salah because I think you can't afford all the big hitters. And there needs to be some sort of a compromise, especially if you're going for a Harry Kane who has a pretty good looking, potentially good looking double game week in 26 as well. So there's going to be a little bit of a decision there in terms of who you're going to drop out of all these big hitters if you're wanting an all a well-rounded squad. And at the moment, I feel like Bruno Fernandes is going to be the fall guy for me because I feel like Salah's showing more at the moment. Uh, the good thing I like about compromising one of I'm talking a little bit of macro strategy here, but I think it's good to get it out of the way quite early. Because when it comes to Salah and Bruno, you're not going to captain them in game week 26, in game week 25, despite Bruno having a standout fixture against Newcastle, because most of us are going to go with a Leeds attacker or a Southampton attacker for the captaincy in 26. In 25. In 26, I think City and Spurs have better fixtures than United and Liverpool, so you're not worried about captaincy there. In 27, it looks like Pep almost confirmed that City are going to have a double game week in 26 and 27. So it looks like you're going to captain a Manchester City player in game week 27. So you're not worried about the captaincy also, which sort of reduces the fear of losing out on these players at the moment. So I'm thinking of Bruno Fernandes being the fall guy, because when it comes to Mo Salah, his fixtures after game week 26 are also really, really good. And their run from game week 31 to 38 is the best in the league. Absolutely outstanding. So, yeah.
Let's move on to the last one, Aston Villa.
Yeah, so in my last stat, I run a comparison between Villa's numbers in the past 4 games, and I compare them to their season averages to sort of have a look at where their attacking stats lie. So for shots inside the box per game, Villa have accumulated 11 over the season. That's their season average. In the past 4 games, they've accumulated 5.8. So that number has basically halved. For big chances per game, they accumulated 3 per game over the season, which has basically dropped to zero point 0.8, which is the worst in the league, and they're ranked 20th in the league for big chances per game, which is extremely worrying if you own double Villa attack or even the likes of Grealish, Watkins, as per at first glance. When I look at the average XG per game, Villa had an average XG 1.8 over the season, which is again half to 0.7. And for this stat as well, they've dropped to 20th in the league, which is again worrying for those who own the Villa attackers. Now I sort of look at Grealish's numbers to see the impact this has had on him, because as you can see from Villa's numbers, it's very apparent that they kind of suggest that they've kind of gotten out of all out attack mode, and they're going more towards grinding out results. So I ran a comparison between Grealish's season averages and his past 9 matches to compare where his stats lie. For minutes per big chance created, he was creating a minutes per big chance in every 117 minutes over the season, compared to 202 minutes over the past 9 matches. He was accumulating a shot inside the box every 39 minutes over the season, as compared to 135 minutes over the past 9 matches. Similarly, he was accumulating a big chance every 195 minutes over the season, as compared to 807 minutes over the past 9 matches. And he's accumulated just one big chance over the past 9 matches, which is worrying if you're a Grealish owner. Similarly, his minutes per expected involvement have dropped from 148 to 290, which is worrying, extremely worrying. However, when I compare this trend to Watkins, I don't think his numbers have greatly been affected, sorry, by the slump or the change in Villa's strategy. Because when I look at Watkins' number, he's still in the top 4 for XG and shots inside the box for all players in the league in the same period. So he's still posting great stats, and for someone priced as cheap as he is, I don't think he's worth getting rid of, particularly not for those managers who are on wildcard. I think he's definitely worth keeping.
Interesting.
So you've got Emmy and Watkins in the wildcard draft locked in, Bakar.
Yeah, more or less.
What do you think about Grealish? Is he going to be in there, finding his way?
He's been in and out. But I don't think he's going to be in there. I doubt it.
I'll tell you where I am in terms of Grealish. And one thing that's very underrated with Grealish in a double game week is you're very likely going to get 160 plus minutes from Grealish in a double game week. And one of the problems for Villa's downturn in fixtures, in form, was the fixture congestion, in my opinion. Because Smith doesn't like making substitutions, because Smith doesn't like changing around his squad too much. All the key players are playing. I think he's just rotating maybe that right inside midfield spot and one center midfield spot. Outside of that, everybody is playing all the games, which is why I think the last few weeks we've seen a downturn in performance, because I think the players were tired. But I think the fixture congestion is done now. So they're going to get a lot more rest than they did in that run. And I was actually reading Andy's tweet in reply to the stats that you just quoted about Grealish. And he blanked against City. He blanked against United. returned against Newcastle, returned against Burnley, returned against Southampton, returned against West Ham, and then he blanked against Arsenal and Brighton, who are two informed defenses at the moment. So it's not like he's doing unpredictable things at the moment. So, uh, given those reasons, he's finding a place in my wildcard squad at the moment. Because the thing that I like the most about Villa is their double game week involves the Leeds fixture, which is still, in my opinion, one of the best uh, fixtures for an attacker. I think it suits Villa's system as well. And yeah, that's that. And because of the injury to Matty Cash as well, my faith in the defense has gone down a little. So I'm more double attack rather than double defense for Villa. I think you and me are on the same page when it comes to Watkins and Emi Martinez.
Yeah.
I feel like Grealish might find his way into my wildcard draft. Zoff, what's your thinking there?
I mean, from what I've been noticing, I'm a big Grealish fan. Had him owned him for large parts early of the season, but last 4-5 games, I am noticing at least maybe the post-COVID thing. There's a little bit dip in his output. He's not as direct as I'd like him to be. He's not getting as many shots. He's not creating as many chances. So it's a valid point you made about the fixture congestion, but I'd like to spin that around. So now let's say now 26, they're probably going to have fixture congestion again, right? If they have the double. 27, they might not have a double. Then we're expecting another double in 28. They'll also won't have a free weekend off like many teams in 29. So the fixture congestion is, I think, something that probably will ease up only later on. So I don't know if that necessarily that problem is going to be allayed. And the problem now with Grealish is not Grealish himself, is the as alternatives in that position and at that price point. So somebody like your Maddison and Harvey Barnes is who he's directly competing with. And right now, I think they're a bit more in form, and I think Leicester are a bit more in form as a team.
Got it. Yeah, fair enough. If you are having one spot for that 7 million-ish midfielder, the Leicester midfielders are definitely knocking on the door in terms of fighting against Grealish. And they don't have the problem that the big hitters do in terms of being nailed. I think the Leicester midfielders, both Barnes and Maddison, are pretty nailed as well at the moment. So it's a tough decision. I'm looking at getting 2 7 million players in my wildcard squad at the moment. I'm not looking at having too many big hitters, and I'm looking to spread cash around and go for the value play as long as I have captains in place at the moment. That's where I am at the moment. Let's see what happens once the fixtures
So
come.
many teasers.
Yes. No, I haven't even built a draft, right? Like, you know what the kind of compromises you need to make once you're building a draft. And I've just stared and stared at the fixture ticker, looked at the stats, and just trying to assimilate as much information as possible.
Speaking of Maddison versus Barnes, where do you stand on that?
So I've been a very happy Harvey Barnes owner for the last 3 or 4 game weeks. But at the moment, Maddison is above Barnes for me, despite the haul in the Liverpool game. What happened in the Liverpool game was that Rodgers changed the formation. Zophar shared their article in the Athletic, and Maddison mentioned that in the post-match match of the day interview as well, where Rodgers played two up top and he played a diamond midfield. Uh, so I don't know if this is game management, and I feel like it's just game management. And Barnes is not going to play that close to goal every game, but it's an outlet that Rodgers could use in the future. In the standard formation, what I've noticed is Maddison is playing a lot closer to the goal. I've been mentioning this for the past couple of game weeks. Sound like a broken record. And on the eye test, he just looks like a better player to me. Surprisingly, Barnes is completely outstatting him. Completely outstatting him. That said, I'm just trusting the eye test, and at the moment, I'm Maddison over Barnes.
I'm the other way. I'm more on Barnes. I think Barnes is more direct. I think Madison, he is definitely a lot more forward still. But I feel like Eddie Howe made an interesting comment in the post match about the game. He said you can play a diamond sometimes, but not all the time. So like you said, they probably aren't going to set up in that formation. But I think anytime they're chasing a game, that's probably likely to be their outlet, like with Barnes and Vardy up top. So I can always feel like to get multiple contributions from a game, I feel Barnes always feels a bit more likely. Madison gets the odd goal, the god assist, but I feel the chances of haulage are more from Barnes in the game. And I think there's
Fair enough.
half a million difference in price.
Yeah.
Because in terms of goal threat, Barnes is outstatting Maddison by quite a distance. But I've noticed that Maddison's creativity has actually gone up quite a bit over the past few games. He wasn't in form as such, even in terms of his creativity numbers over the season. But they've improved over the past 4 to 6 game weeks. I noticed that he's creating a lot of chances. He's created like 3 big chances in the past 4 games. So his numbers have improved, which wasn't exactly happening over the season. When I remember us doing a pod when we were discussing Myerson versus Barnes around 3 to 4 weeks ago. And when I looked at the numbers, Myerson had one shot in the box and one big chance created over the season. And that was like 20 weeks in. But now he's created like three big chances in already. Having said that, I still think if I was making a decision between Barnes, Myerson, and Grealish, I would still go with Grealish because I think he's more dependable.
And who's your preference between Mads and Barnes
I think I'd probably go with Barnes, but
at the moment?
it's
Fair enough.
it's hard.
It's close.
That's
I'm
close.
Yeah, it's very hard.
I'm on Madison at the
We're still
moment,
talking
but
about the
like
players. Okay.
yeah.
Sorry,
So
I had to get that in there.
it's all good. It's all good, man. What I was saying is that if you're not going wrong when you're picking any of these three players at the moment. So if cash crunch is an issue and I need to find 0.5 million in my wildcard draft, I don't think Madison to Barnes is a huge compromise. Like you're mentioning, it's a debatable decision at the moment, so I don't mind that.
Right. Let's move on to the next. Now, let's just quickly jump into team discussion. One of the teams that has been shining over the last few weeks, Chelsea.
Shining with easy fixtures. Let's get that out of the way first. I don't think the team has been really tested as yet, and I'm looking forward to seeing the double game week fixtures and seeing what happens there.
See, the thing is, right, I trust Tuchel in those fixtures. We had only one difficult fixture, I would say, obviously, the Spurs one, which isn't a very difficult fixture when Harry Kane isn't playing really. So, but it is worth mentioning that in the league, we have yet to concede a goal to an opposition player. It's just Rudiger who's put the ball in the back of our own net, and the numbers are there. In terms of, you look at the shots, in terms of like, the XG conceded, I think we're only like 0.02 or something behind Man City. So the numbers
So
are
Zoff,
that, and what I can see, right? Sorry, is like little bit of like I wouldn't say I go as far, but a little bit of LVG ball where we keep possession and suffocate teams. So I don't think we will score too many. I think two, two is three is going to be the upper limit of what we score. But I think defensively we are definitely looking like a good team to target.
I can say that the every time I do watch Chelsea, they're looking better than they did in the previous week. So there is definitely the team is moving in the right direction. And again, just mentioning because I've looked at the fixtures, while Chelsea have a potentially difficult looking fixture in double game week 26, uh, people should not have a tunnel vision here because their fixtures in game week 25 and their fixtures after game week 27 are pretty good. So they face Southampton in game week 25. In 27, they have Everton. In 28, they have Leeds away. In 30, they have West Brom. In 31, they have Crystal Palace. That's a pretty good run. Pretty good run. So, Zoff, why don't you just tell our listeners in terms of assets to target for Chelsea?
Right. So number one in attack, I think the only guy who's looked reliable to start most of the games is our friend Timo. He's finally got his goal and he's generally looked lively. You can see he's been given a bit of fresh leads. I think Tuchel, to his credit, actually knows what he needs to do to get the best out of Werner, and I think Werner will eventually step up. Maybe he will be on our radar after the double game week because at 9 million still seems like a bit too much to go there. But the man who's really interesting me is our old favorite Marcos Alonso. So for shots in the box, he is actually second amongst all Chelsea players over the last 4 game week with 8 shots, and he's also up there in terms of chances created. He's created 4 chances, and in general, he's always there, just around the box, lurking. And I think he is the preferred choice over Chilwell in this position. It's going to matter a little bit on the opposition we play, right? If we need somebody who's more defensively solid, like against Liverpool, if you're going to have somebody on the left side protecting against Salah, that's probably going to be Chilwell, not Alonso.
So you think Alonso gets the Saints game? You think let's deep dive a little. Alonso should get the Saints game, right?
I think so. Because we have Champions
Uh,
League also, I think, in the same week, if I'm not wrong, or either side around that. I think in Champions League against Atletico, he might prefer Chilwell.
all right, cool. Yeah, that's also a factor to play. And maybe the United game goes to Alonso and the uh,
Liverpool game goes to
Liverpool game goes to Chilwell, you reckon? Or it can be either
either way.
inverse as well. And then the easier fixtures, you think he's going to prefer Alonso?
Alonso, yes. But the tricky part
Everton.
is whichever one is going to be benched is likely to be subbed on. And this is something we have seen. The wing back positions is one of the where he makes his substitutions. You had Hudson-Odoi and Reece James interchanging on the right side. I think Alonso's already made a sub appearance. So the only tricky part over here is, like, let's say you bring Alonso, he doesn't start. It's likely he's going to block your auto sub with the cameo.
You think the upside's worth it?
It depends, right? Now, see where you're building it now. I think the appeal of Cancelo is slightly waning a little bit. Today, if like if you have to ask me which one has more attacking potential of the two, I'd say Marcus Alonso hands down. It
I'm
wouldn't
in
sup-
agreement.
it wouldn't surprise you any game just to see Alonso pop up with a brace. With Cancelo, you just seen that one goal which was due to the linesman putting his flag up. So if you're going to go with only one, like let's say like in your 5-man backline, you can afford one rotation spot, right? Because the other guys can cover it. So if you're going to go for that one guy, I think Alonso is a decent shout.
How many, let's say, in terms of percentage, if you had to call it, you expect him to play 70-80% of the games?
70% is I think fair. 60 to 70% is where I would lean.
All right, fair enough. Bakar, anything
Especially,
to add?
especially
Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry, go to
I
the
mostly
point.
agree with what Zoff has said. I don't have much to add over here. Just like a few more stats on Alonso, that he's also top for penalty area touches among defenders over the past 4 game weeks, and he has 8 shots inside the box, and the second highest is fifth. So that just tells you how far and above he is of all the other defenders. I put out a tweet a couple of days ago saying that under Tuchel only 4 players have started all games. Um, it was Kovacic, Rudiger,
As
Jorginho, and one more I'm
Aspi,
forgetting.
Aspignoid.
Aspi, yeah, Aspi. So yes, there does seem to be some kind of rotation threat looming around all Chelsea players, but I do think that Alonso is safe for now, at least given how Chelsea are performing defensively. I think he should keep his spot, and he's someone I'm very seriously considering in my wildcard team. Other than that, I mean, I'm not looking at anyone else, but Werner's been putting up some good numbers as always. I mean, his big chances are right up there. He finally scored this week. Mount is creating a ridiculous amount of chances. I mean, over the past 8 game weeks, I was just saying that Shaw is second for chance created, Mount is first. So I mean, that bodes well for Chelsea going forward. But yeah, the slightly annoying thing about Chelsea is that their double isn't as appealing on paper, but when you look at the fixtures around it, uh, either side of the double, they're actually nice fixtures. So I mean, I hope they kind of compensate for the less appealing fixtures in the double.
Zoff, you were saying something before I cut you also.
I don't remember exactly, but I was thinking, yeah, if we progress further in the Champions League, then we might see a pattern, right? You can see then if like Chilwell is preferred in the Champions League, we might see Alonso getting consistent starts. That was the point I was making.
Just want to touch upon Hudson-Odoi, who I think is going to play 75-80% of the games. 5.7 million. I was looking at the heat maps between Alonso and Hudson-Odoi. And Hudson-Odoi is playing a lot closer to the goal compared to Alonso at the moment. Worth a punt at 5.7, you reckon, Zoff?
I think it's too risky there in terms of like, cause if he was a defender, then maybe, but in the midfielder, he's sort of reverse out of position, right? He doesn't. He's not going to get as many goals scored for. And the thing is, he's not taking as many shots also as Marcos. He's probably going to be assisting. And I think James is quite stiff competition because James can offer something similar to what he does.
Fair enough. Cool.
But
Just
in
wanted
terms
your
of my
opinion.
asset to target, I would say of all of them in defense, I would go for Rudiger. I think Rudiger at 4.6 is tremendous value, and he has a bit of goal threat himself.
Fair enough. Agreed. Agreed.
Right.
I think we can move on from Chelsea. Let's get on to the double game week
Leeds
25
first.
teams. Leeds first. Bakar, why don't you kick us off on Leeds?
I think this one is fairly straightforward. On wildcard, Dallas, Rafinha, Bamford, Rafinha, they're absolutely locked in. Considering that, I over the past 6 to 8 game weeks, they've accumulated almost 70 this year, almost 70% of the big chances that Leeds accumulate. The only slight question mark for me here is Dallas, because I know that Leeds are defensively suspect, and I don't think they're going to keep a clean sheet in the double. Um, and I don't see a clean sheet in game week 26 as well. So he's a bit of a question mark, but then again, his attacking numbers are actually decent. So I'm 50-50 on Dallas. But other than that, Bamphinha, the Bamphinha duo is basically set in my team.
I think that's the case for absolutely everybody at the moment. On that Dallas note, I was listening to the Scoutcast yesterday, which was really, really good, I thought. And Seb Wassel, he's a Leeds fan, and he was making a point that if you're switching your Leeds players out into double gaming players in 26, then why not punt on a Harrison over a Dallas? Because his stats aren't bad when it comes to the attackers. He's third fiddle to Bamphinha at the moment. We don't think that. Leeds are going to keep clean sheets. I agree with you. I think at max they keep one clean sheet. Why not punt on a Harrison who's not been doing too badly? I think he's got 3 goals in the last 4 or 5 game weeks. So he's been contributing fairly well. And why not just go for the third Leeds attacker? He's also under 5.5 million. It's something that appealed to me as a strategy. So what's your thinking there, Baka?
The thing with Harrison is that his stats are average. I can't say he'll be involved in any of the goals with any kind of confidence. Sure, he might nick a goal here or there, but I won't be too confident going in there.
The point is that he's fighting in your squad against Dallas for the third lead spot if you're going 3 leads on
I
your
get
wild
it.
card.
Yeah, I get the logic behind it, but I
Yeah.
don't know. If I was dropping Dallas, I don't think I'd get a third Leeds player.
All
I
right.
agree because
Fair
he's
enough.
not fighting against like not necessarily Dallas. He's fighting against all the other players you can consider in midfield. The opportunity cost in midfield, I think, is far greater than it is in defense.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what my thinking is on the wild card, right? So if I'm getting 3 leads attackers, Leeds are a team that you can rely on when it comes to attack. And yeah, Wolves are sort of sometimes parking the bus, sometimes not parking the bus. But Saints is a good fixture for the Leeds attackers. And inversely, Leeds is a good fixture for the Saints attackers. We should hopefully see goals in that game. So why not increase the odds and get your Leeds attackers in place? What I also like is it leaves the options open to me for game week 26 in terms of which attacker to get because I don't want to be wasting transfers in defense, and I don't want to be holding Dallas for a long time as well. So that's the thinking, just that I have in my head.
Just a note on Dallas also, it's worth mentioning, as Seb said on the Scoutcast, that they'll probably go to a back three for the Saints game, right? Bielsa does this when he's up against two
Yeah,
strikers. So in which case, I expect Dallas to be playing at right wing back. They'll probably have centre back. So I don't think he might actually not play in midfield in either of these games. It's something to watch out for because that's a big part of his appeal, his out of position role. It all depends on, I think, Calvin
Yep.
Phillips' fitness, Click's fitness, a lot of variables still up in the air.
and then speaking about variance and anomalies, just that stat that Seb quoted, absolutely caught my attention. Dallas has an for the season he has an XGI of around 3.8 or 3.9 something, and he's got 5 or 6 returns. And Luke Ayling, in comparison, for the season has an XGI of 3.51, not very far off
And a
from
big
Dallas and
zero.
has and 0 returns. Just shows how variance can sometimes affect things so drastically. Just wanted to quote that stat.
Yeah,
Right.
but the reason behind this was because when Ailing was playing right back, he was quoting some great numbers, but when he switched to centre back, those numbers dropped off. So when Ailing is playing as right back, his numbers are actually very good.
Yeah, but look at the variance. Somebody is having pretty much the same XGI for the season, 6 returns to 0 returns. That's huge
So that's
variance.
brutal. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what I want to ask first about these leads guys is, and this was a big dilemma for me when I was considering my strategy. Who are you guys? How many are you guys planning to retain? Let's see, bring in like 2 or 3 on your wild card this week. You bring in Ings. How many are you planning to retain going into next week?
I'm personally very comfortable retaining Bamford and Rafinha for Villa in game week 26. I think Leeds are going to score probably once or twice there, and I know that Emmy Martinez is an absolute saves beast, but I mean Villa are highly overperforming their expected goals conceded numbers, and I expect them to catch up. I I think that Bamphinha will do well again in 26.
And just for people that don't have a free hit or people aren't very well versed with the fixtures, I think it's worth mentioning that Leeds have a, only 3 games, only 2 games are being played in game week 29 at the moment, and we're expecting
3.
Aston Villa versus Spurs to be added in game week 29. So that's going to be a blank game week. It's worth mentioning that Leeds have a pretty good game against Fulham in that game week. So you have a reason to hold on to your Leeds players right until game week 29, especially if you don't have a free hit.
Depending
Just
on your
worth mentioning.
strategy.
Depending on the strategy. Yep. I just don't think everybody knows that there is a blank game week in 29. So I just want to reiterate the
Absolutely fine.
in simple stuff. That's all.
Right. Let's we move on to Southampton.
Uh, just another thing worth mentioning. I don't think it's for me, but it is worth mentioning that Pascal Strujic, who is a pretty decent threat on set pieces, he's a 3.9 basement defender. So if you have a terrible team value and if you're just looking to fill in the numbers with a basement budget defender, Strujic has a double game week in 3.9. So just worth mentioning that. That's all.
Short term, right? But he probably loses his spot when you have all the centre backs fit.
Agree.
Right. Southampton. Why don't you start us off, LR?
So Danny Ings is again pretty nailed in my double game week draft because I wouldn't be surprised if he braces against that Leeds United team. And yes, Chelsea don't concede a lot of chances, but Danny Ings is that caliber of a striker that if you give him one chance, that's enough. Uh, so I'm happy to punt on Danny Ings, and Pep pretty much confirmed that Saints have a double game week in 26 as well as 20.
No, he confirmed 27. He is not confirmed
Sorry,
since
27.
sorry,
26.
sorry. Pep pretty much confirmed that Saints have a double game week in gaming 25 and in gaming 27. In 27, they play Sheffield United and Manchester City. So you're buying somebody who's playing at least 5 games in the next 3 game weeks. So just for the volume and the caliber of the striker, and I feel like he's been looking pretty sharp in the last 3 game weeks. Beautiful, beautiful goal against Wolves. Absolutely love seeing that, and I thought he was looking sharp outside of that as well. I think it's a decent punt. You go
Bakar?
for Danny Ings. Outside of that, I'm just going to run
Sure.
through all the uh, other options. Well, Yannick Vestergaard is an option to consider for sure. He's 4.7 million, not very expensive. Loves is a huge set piece threat on corners, and the value of that is increased because I feel like Southampton have one of the best set piece takers in the league in terms of James Ward-Prowse. So that's what increases the attraction towards Vestergaard as well because you have such a good set piece taker in the team, a good punt. I think he's good for a goal, and I feel like Southampton defense isn't as bad as that Leeds defense. So if given a choice between Dallas and Westergaard, I'd actually go for uh, Westergaard because I think they are capable of scraping a few clean sheets themselves. So worth mentioning that. Do not go for James McCarthy because I was just he's going through a very bad run of form, and I feel like it could be a trap, and you don't want to spend transfers in your goalkeepers. I was going through the Southampton forum, and 95% of the fans want McCarthy dropped and Foster starting. And only about 40% of them expect that
Right.
Hasenhuttl is going to be doing that. But it's not like McCarthy is making saves at the moment, so I wouldn't go there. It's a trap. I wouldn't go there. I want to advise against that. Che Adams doesn't look like a pick at the moment. Again, on the Scoutcast, as I want to quote a couple of stats that David Monday, the editor at F Scout, mentioned, where it's a very small sample set, but Minamino is shooting pretty much as much as Ings in the last 4 game weeks. So pretty decent punt at 6 million if you want to go there. Just wanted to add that. That's all.
Got it. So I'm not as bullish on Southampton. I like them for the fixtures in 25, Wolves and for example Leeds, but in 26, right? If they have the double, we are looking at Everton away and Spurs away. And
Just want to correct Chelsea and Leeds.
sorry,
So
right. Wolves and that's for Leeds. So
yeah,
26 we are talking about Everton away and Spurs away. I don't think either fixture scream clean sheet potential over there. You're hoping really much for a Vestergaard goal, and in 27 you're looking at Sheffield United away and City away. So these are all A away fixtures. So and in general, like there's a lot of competition for Ings around that price point, right? 8.4, 8.5 is not cheap. You're going to get a lot more other options and all that stuff. So I don't know how much sway the extra double holds for me. Like the Man City fixture away to Man City, I just look at it as an additional 2 points. Spurs and Everton, they've been decent themselves. So I don't think you have to be a little bit careful of just purely playing numbers. Like we have with double game weeks, it's not necessarily they gain points. Like this week, we saw the second group of fixtures. It didn't necessarily yield points for rotation or whatever reason. So I like Saints for this week, but I'm not that bullish on their prospects going forward. What is interesting though is they have good fixtures after 27. You have the likes of Brighton, I think Burnley, West Brom, and all in the 30 around game week 30. So that would probably like interest me. But I think besides Ings, there's nobody really I'm interested in. Bakar?
just
Sorry.
sorting by the fixture ticker between 27 and 32. Southampton are second.
Hmm.
So Saints, Brighton, Burnley, West Brom, and Palace is the run. That's a pretty good run.
Right. Bakar, anything to add?
No, I think I'm set on Ings this week. I really like that Leeds fixture. I'm kind of possibly trying to plan my wild card in a way where I am gonna probably sell Ings next week for Kane. So that's something I have in mind. But I think I'm gonna go with him, and I'm not really considering anyone else from Southampton. I posted their defensive numbers a few days ago, and their defensive numbers have completely collapsed over the past 9 to 10 game weeks. Even if you take the United game out, they're still conceding like around two big chances per game. So I don't think anyone over there is worth getting. McCarthy's at risk of getting dropped. Westergaard is the one I'd go for if I was picking one. Other than that, I still think the sample size is a bit too small to punt on Minamino. Adams isn't an option anymore, so Ings is the only one I'm going to go with this week.
A few people are talking about Redmond who played up front, but I feel like he's going to share minutes with
Adams.
Exactly,
Adams up front
exactly.
as well.
Right.
Bakar, what if Saints have a triple double? A double in 25, 26, and 27. Would you sell Ings then? Just want to pose that question.
Depends on how he does this week.
Okay,
I'll
so you're keeping him, and then you can take
yeah,
that call. You're flexible with that call.
exactly. I'll be flexible with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if
So
he races against Leeds, it will be hard to sell him.
yeah, because again, Zoff, you mentioned that the double gamings don't look that attractive. I don't think the Everton fixture and the Sheffield United fixture are putting me off from an attacking standpoint. I quite like Ings against those two teams in
No, correct.
26.
I get what you're saying, but the issue is not
Yeah,
Ings himself. It's always right now because
the team.
there's so many other teams. There's so many
Yeah,
other things. Like for example, there were people talking about like getting Ings in this week, leaving cash in the bank to go to Kane the week
correct,
after. It could be very easily Kane outscores Ings this week.
correct, correct.
Kane could outscore Ings even with like in 27. I think 27 he plays what Palace. He could again outscore Ings with the double. So that is where the balancing act comes into play. If they were in isolation, one of the few teams with the double, then he's a no-brainer. That's why I
Yeah,
just feel I'm not totally against your idea. I just don't think it's very clear cut.
yeah. Especially because I think if you're talking macro, most people are going to have Kane and Watkins as two of the three striker spots in
Yeah.
26 because they make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And you have Vardy competing with you for that spot. You have DCL potentially competing for that spot. And you have Ings competing for that spot.
And you
So
have a
yeah,
3-5-2. You could even go a
and you
3-5-2.
yeah, you're fair enough. Fair
So
enough.
that's the
And
point I was making. Right.
cool.
Let's
Cool.
move on
Anything
to
to add, guys? I think we're
nothing
done.
much.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the season
Nothing
ticket.
to add.
Before that, should we do the Patreon plug?
Bakar.
Bakar?
Sorry.
The Patreon plug. We haven't done
Wait a
that yet,
second.
right?
No.
Nope.
Just a second. I'll
No
have to
problem.
open it up.
No problem. So while you do that, I just have the fixture ticker up now. Over here, this is again provisional based on Ben's assumptions, which we believe are pretty good. He called the Man City, the Wolves stuff rearrangement. So I'm pretty sure that we are going to be online with what we see over here. So we
Right.
go ahead, Bakar.
Yeah. So as you guys know, we recently started a Patreon page at patreon.com/the FPL Wire. Our work continues to be free, and this is just if you want to support us. Shout out to our newest patrons. In the Jimmy Tire, we have Benji Yag, Varun Bava, Aaron Lager, Naveen Venkatapati, and Chris Bilko. In the Uma Tire, we have Chaitanya Y. I'd also like to read out a message from Chris Blinko to all three of us this week. Um, so, who's I'm just going to quote that. I just wanted to say huge thank you for the fantastic content you have been producing this season. Thought provoking, intelligent, insightful, and good humored. It's the perfect combination. While James at Planet, FPL, and Luke Disabled were the voices of my first lockdown with their fantasy Champman content, you guys have kept me sane and entertained through lockdowns 2 and 3, and I am grateful, so grateful to you. You've also taken me to my first highest ever FPL position, and my 133 point Game Week 25 bench boost was fully inspired by you guys, and it worked a treat. Keep it up. You guys are an absolute gift. Best wishes, Chris. Thank you, Chris, for the grateful words and for the extremely generous compliments. They mean a lot to us. Thank you for the support.
Also, you guys now know how much Bakar doesn't really care about the Patreons. He completely forgot to give a shout out. We're supposed to do it fairly earlier. So just so you know that the kind of guy Bakar is, and he doesn't care too much about the money. It's about reinvesting it back into the pod for us. So if at all you feel like supporting us, you can visit www.patreon.com/the FPL Wire. We've had a lot of signups in the past week, so thank you for that. We're grateful.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the fixtures.
Thank you for your support for helping us grow. Right now, so look at the fixtures first. Let's skip game week 24 and 25, right? Since we've discussed those at length. Let's start first with Man City. Now 26 and 27. It's now interesting with Pep pretty much giving us fair warning that most of these weeks are going to be single game weeks for what my players. What are you guys thinking on wildcard? Still going with Triple City?
I'm thinking about two at the moment. I'm thinking about Gundo plus Diaz and avoiding the benching headache altogether because I'm potentially looking at a bench boost in game week 26. And I don't think a City double game week is a double game week at the moment. I especially am uh, not willing to spend 10 million plus on a Manchester City at the moment. Uh, Kevin is the only one who would probably tempt me, but I feel like he's too much for somebody who's not guaranteeing you two fixtures in the double. So what I could probably do, and I was as a strategy, what I was thinking about doing is spreading my funds around, getting a lot of 7 million, 8 million value picks. And then in 27, I'll need to start trimming my squad, right? So I was thinking of then getting rid of one of these value picks and increasing, upgrading a mid-level midfielder to a De Bruyne in game week 27, which gives me that differential. So that's what I was thinking from a strategy point of view. What do you guys think?
Interesting. No, Bakar, why don't you go first? I'll let you guys take more of this since you guys are the ones on wildcard. I
Yeah,
think you guys can
so
take.
Gundo, I think he's pretty much nailed with the price tag he has. Even with De Bruyne back, I don't think that's gonna affect his output too much because his numbers even when De Bruyne was playing was still pretty good. So I'm even happy with even if he produces 60% of the output he's producing right now at that price. I don't mind. It's perfectly fine for that price. Um, so the City defense is tough now because I'm fairly sure that Cancelo will probably miss a fixture. Stones is at risk because the problem is that Laporte is back. Even Diaz's appeal isn't as big anymore because with Laporte back, I'm not even sure that Diaz is going to play 2 games. So even though he looks the most likeliest, I still can't say that with absolute assurance that he's going to play 2 games. So yeah, I mean I'd probably look at Diaz and Gundogan as well. I'll see if I have a spot available in defense. If I do, I'd probably go with Cancelo just for the upside.
Have you considered a few people are doing this, and it's not a bad idea, but I feel like the upside of that pick is 6 points a game week. Would you consider the guy with the best tattoo in the league and potentially on penalties, Edison, as a second keeper? All of us are struggling to find a second keeper at the moment.
I don't think I'm going to go there, but yeah, I can see why people are interested, but not for me, not just yet.
Not
I
when
need
there's
to
Emi
have some more
Martinez.
evidence of the fact that he's going to
I
be
mean, there's Emi Martinez. Why
penalty.
do you need another keeper?
We're bench boosting Zoff. We need to
I mean, even
look
then,
at.
so Edison, like, even if you bench boost, you're still going to want Emi Martinez for the remaining weeks, is my point.
Yeah, fair
It's
enough.
too much.
Fair enough. Yeah, also, I feel like, let's say an Aguero hits form or a De Bruyne hits form. You don't want to spend a transfer on a keeper out to get that
Precisely.
third City player as well. So that's something I'm
Yeah.
considering.
Are we sure that Edison is going to take penalties though?
Zero. I don't think
No,
he's ever
Exactly.
going to
We don't
take
have any
penalties.
kind of
no, he's
information.
just, that was more tongue in cheek. That's all.
Difficult for Nil.
Yeah.
That-
But worth noting that City have a double game week again, like you guys saw, and Pep confirmed that City have a double game week in 27 as well. So it's definitely worth going triple City on your wild card if
Yeah.
you're looking at the next 2 or
The
3
fixtures are so good, right? You're talking about in 26, you have West Ham and one of Wolves and Southampton, and then United and then one of those other two teams again, and then Fulham. The fixtures are just so good.
You think Diaz is as nailed as he was maybe a couple of weeks ago, so?
Not as nailed, but I would still say out of the whole lot. And again, we are going to see more of these patterns, I think, in the Champions League, right? If let's say
Yeah.
they blow away Gladbach in the first leg, things become a lot easier in the second leg. So
Yeah.
we find out we'll be probably in a better position in a couple of weeks to take a call on this. But
Yeah. But I think
it's still I think
Pep
he's
was
worth it.
as vocal as he could be in terms of, I'm going to rotate, guys, so don't trust me at all.
It's an opportunity, right? Because the template is so entrenched now. If you want to move away from Man City, even though they have a double, now might be the time if you want to be
Correct.
aggressive about it.
Exactly. And outside of Gundogan, if you really think about it, the points are quite distributed in attack. There's no standout single attacker who's hogging the goal involvement when it comes to Manchester City. De Bruyne could well be that person in the future, but at the moment, it's all.
He wasn't doing it even before, right? I think he had one
Yeah.
goal from open play. Gundogan
Yeah.
got more than that in one match.
Yeah, he was showing the underlying, so is what you're saying. If you're
Correct.
watching the games, De Bruyne is very high chance involvement for him when you're watching City. That's all. So yeah.
Yeah, he's very
His
thin on the eye
underlying numbers
test.
were
I agree. Sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
his underlying numbers were great, but But for someone on wildcard De Bruyne, I mean, it's far too early.
All right.
Pep is not going to play him every game, particularly when he has the league more or less, wrapped up even without him. I just can't see him being an option anytime soon.
I agree. Let's move on.
All right. Everton have a double game week, which could be Southampton at home and then either Aston Villa or West Brom away. I mean, the only asset I might consider if it is Calvert-Lewin in
Same.
this game.
Not Dean.
Luca Dean, no, Dean not for me. I think there are much better picks in defense.
Six
At the
Besides,
points is
moment.
a
I
lot.
fancy Villa and Southampton both to score against Everton anyways.
Yeah, and then you have one of Chelsea. The thing is, if the double drops in 28, right, rather than 27, we are looking at possibly Burnley and West Brom. That's quite attractive, I think, on terms of like even a triple captaincy shout. If you want to look at DCL, I think you could look there.
Agreed. I think this is a much of a muchness, and we'll hopefully get more clarity on this in a few hours later tonight.
Right. Let's just
Yeah.
skim through these. We're already at 55 minutes, so let's not.
All right, I'll just quickly skim through
Yeah.
it. Burnley, I think, not of interest because the double game week in 26 is Spurs away and Leicester at home. Fulham, wait, Fulham might have a double game week, which might be Crystal Palace away and Spurs at home. I think Areola is somebody worth considering as a cheap second keeper at 4.5 million. He tends to make a fair amount of saves as well and has a game in game week 29 as well. So that's something worth considering. Or the Fulham cheap defenders as well. I'm actually absolutely cheering for them. I'll just go through this very quickly, and if you guys feel like stopping me at some point,
Yeah.
if you guys have anything to add, just let me know. So Areola is worth considering, and the Fulham cheap defenders are worth considering. Burnley we mentioned. Uh, United have a double game week potentially against Chelsea and Crystal Palace. So in the next two game weeks, they do have good fixtures. They've got Newcastle at home, Chelsea away, and Crystal Palace away. After that, it's a little bit hot and cold. That's why we spoke about Luke Shaw, who's a good asset. And it's a decision if you have to drop one of the big hitters, which we mentioned earlier. Leicester City is definitely worth mentioning because Madison, Barnes, and Jamie Vardy, all three should be in our thinking at the moment. Ricardo Pereira at 5.9 is an outside fund. But it's worth mentioning that Rogers mentioned in his press conference that Pereira is going to be managed in terms of his minutes as well. So I'm not entirely confident about a 5.9 asset, where his manager is talking about he could potentially be managed. What is worth pointing out with Leicester, as Bakar pointed out in the previous pod, is that they have two good follow-up fixtures in terms of Brighton away and Sheffield United at home. I don't think Brighton is a very good fixture, but at least you can carry your players into 27 and 28 before you need to get rid of them. So there isn't too much of a problem. Liverpool, for me personally, are the team to target. We spoke about them earlier. They've got Everton at home right now, who are not doing too well in defense. Then they have Sheffield United away, Chelsea at home. Then they have Fulham, Wolves, and their fixtures after game week 30 are pretty good as well. Just want to pose this question to both of you. I think I know the answer. Is Kabak an option at 5 million?
No.
No.
Not for me.
Bakar, for you?
I think he might be. I think he might be.
Yeah.
I don't
With me,
trust
it's
the
just a
defense
strong.
at all.
You don't trust it.
I mean-
You're not bullish on Trent either, so?
No, like we were talking about in the chat earlier, right? Rudiger has the same number of clean sheets as the entire Liverpool defense, and he's only been playing since January.
Yeah, fair enough. But like, if you went and said that in, let's say December, which City weren't, doing the best of things, it's just the
No,
trend
but
that
the
you
City, the
spot.
trends were there, right? Like that's why, like you went hard on them early on because the trends were there. You could see, but Liverpool, it just seems that they're so brittle right now. I think it again might be a case of like going too early. In terms, I'd like to see them 2-3 games of like being solid, not conceding as many big chances, and then I would say that yes, you could see it happening. Right now,
I mean, the underlying numbers are poor, but if you just want to do it as a fixture play, then it kind of makes sense because they have like Sheffield United, Wolves, Fulham next three fixtures.
right.
The
And
fixtures
another
are decent.
differential, as they are absolutely huge differentials in terms of defense. But in that case, like you've been mentioning about Trent, I say go the whole hog with Trent. Don't go only for the CS potential
Agreed.
with somebody like Kabak.
Agreed. Yeah, I was asking you about Trent only. I'm bullish because he just looks sharp on the eye test as well.
That's
And
a
one
decent part.
thing which is a lesser of a worry when it comes to Liverpool is you're expecting lesser rotation than the other teams when it comes to clock, especially since they have a fair bit to fight for in the league as well at the moment. I think their fourth spot is also in danger, so I expect them to keep playing the starting 11 in the league, and I'm not too worried about rotation at the moment.
And we are at that stage of the season where I think we've kind of established that Trent is the go-to guy in defense and not Robertson, given his numbers. And Trent looks to be he looks to be more attacking. Looks to be much better than he was early in the season as well.
Yeah. Robbo's been the better defender all season, but he just looks tired
Tired.
in the
Yeah.
past month or so. Wolves is worth mentioning. It's pretty interesting because they've got Leeds at home in Game Week 25, which is a pretty good fixture, especially for those on wildcard. I think Neto is a decent punt in that price bracket. He's not competing with anybody in that price bracket, especially if you're looking to switch out of Rafinha as well or go with one of these guys in Game Week 25. Neto is a decent punt because Leeds at home and then Newcastle away in Game Week 26, which is a good single week fixture. And then you're getting 2 points extra for playing Manchester City. So just worth mentioning that because again, Pep mentioned that they could have a double game week, right, in Game Week 26. Outside of that, we don't have any confirmed news yet. So just wait and monitor Ben Crellin's account and the Premier League official Twitter account at 9:30 IST or 4 p.m. UK time. Anything to add, guys? I think this was just a
I think
decent
this is
Nothing
way to-
much. We will try to do something additional, maybe a pop-up stream or something if we do get news tomorrow. But let's take it as we go.
In terms of macro strategy, just a couple of things that I want to add. You can consider the Brighton and Hove Albion assets as well. They're in a good run. In fact, they're in the top 5 defense in the league in terms of underlying numbers as well as clean sheets in the past 6-8 game weeks. And they've got a good fixture in Game Week 26 and they've got a good fixture in Game Week 29. So they've got a cheap keeper as well and they've got cheap assets like White or Dunk, who you can carry through and play in 26 and 29 as well. So just thought that was worth
Do
mentioning.
you want to do a quick check of 3 top assets in each position?
Sure, can do that.
One, Bakar, you go first.
I'd probably go with Martinez for the keeper slot.
Right, keeper.
Um,
Leave 3 keepers. Just give me. I mean, Martinez is undisputed, right? We can just
Sure.
bow to Martinez, and then after that, move on. Tell me in defense, midfield, and up top.
Are we looking at differentials or any picks?
Any
no,
picks, any
for
picks.
wildcard, like picks, like we are not giving our wildcard teams, which certain picks you like in each position, irrespective of price.
Fair enough. I think Bamford, Rafinha, Trent. I really like Trent. Alonso. I think that's yeah, that's kind of where I am. These are the only picks which are kind of like
I mean,
I'm looking at right now.
Okay, I guess. What about Bruno, Kane, Salah, etc., etc.?
Yeah, so for
Salah,
me,
we've already spoken about. Son is the one, yes. So I think Son. I prefer Son over Bruno in my team as well.
That's interesting. That's a decent shot. Panel?
the 3 that I definitely think are pretty nailed in my wildcard draft: Shaw in defense, Salah in midfield, and Watkins as a forward. So I just want to mention those 2 names.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of permutations and combinations in terms of what news we might hear. So I'll just wait on that. Also, another thing worth mentioning, since we've covered a fair amount of macro strategy, is that if you're not looking to wildcard right now and looking to dead end your team in, let's say, Game Week 29 or 30, there's a decent fixture shift in Game Week 31. So that could be a good point to wildcard as well after Game Week 29 and 30. Just wanted to add that.
That's fair. Let's move on to fixtures.
Yeah, I think let's just discuss the captaincy because I don't
Yeah.
want this pod to be too long
Right.
at the moment.
I think the captaincy pretty much comes down to these 3 guys, right? This week, obviously, if you're not going to go with Bruno, I think it's Ings, Bamford, or Rafinha.
Yeah, I haven't given it too much thought. Where are you guys at with these 3 players?
I'm leaning towards Bamford. I was looking at the stats, and over the past 6 matches, Bamford and Rafinha is kind of matching Bamford. In fact, he's slightly better for expected goal involvement, minutes per expected goal involvement. But I think I'm still going to go with Bamford because over a sustained period of time, Bamford has the better stats. He's on penalties. He just seems more safe.
Yeah. So
For me, it's clearly
And-
Bamford. Because the thing is, right, the Chelsea fixture I don't necessarily like for Southampton. I don't think we will concede over there. If we do, maybe 1. Whereas, the Leeds fixture, you can see them possibly scoring in both. So it's for me, it's probably Bamford, Ings, and then Rafinha in that order.
all right, cool. I haven't made my mind up, but I'll just present the arguments that I'm sort of internally debating in my head. When it comes to Bamford, Wolves could easily park the bus. We don't know how they're going to be in attack. And Bamford sort of has a tendency to drift in and out of games. He can be invisible in a game for 70, 80 minutes, and he has that little bit of a tendency. What I do like about Bamford is that he's on pens, of course, and he's very FPL aware. A couple of game weeks ago, he mentioned that he captained himself against a Palace fixture, I think he's going to be very aware that there is a double game week and he's going to captain himself again. And I quite like that in a player. Just a small nose worth mentioning. Rafinha for me has looked a lot fresher compared to Bamford when it comes to the Leeds attackers. And he's got a lot of outlets to attack. While Bamford is always around the box, Rafinha has got a very high chance creation threat. He's taking a lot of shots and he's on all set pieces as well, especially if Calvin Phillips is injured, then Rafinha is taking corners and set pieces from both sides instead of just one side. So while Bamford has pens, Rafinha has all the set pieces as well. And with Ings, I feel like uh, he's got a much higher goal involvement chance than either Bamford or Rafinha. So if Leeds score 5 or 6 goals, there's a good chance that Bamford and Rafinha will have 3 or 4 involvements. And Ings can match that with 3 or 4 goals as well because his goal involvement rate will be high. So those 3 things are what I'm debating at the moment.
Decent shout. So as of now, who are you guys looking to captain? Bakar, I think
Bamford.
I think both of us are pretty clear on Bamford. I think
I'm set on Bamford.
LR I think might.
I don't know. It
No,
could
that's
be
fair.
Bamford. I think I just don't. I just haven't made my mind up.
I mean, it's tricky, right? A lot of people look at this or look at this as an opportunity to differentiate, but you have to make a concerted effort to pick the best pick, not necessarily
Correct.
just one to differentiate. So just be
Agreed.
wary of
Agreed.
that. Just be wary of falling
Absolutely.
in that trap.
Absolutely.
Right. So shall we wrap up with the Q&A?
Yep. Okay. Quickly move
Actually,
to the
wait.
question.
In terms of teams, we're just doing my team now, right? I think neither of you
Yep.
guys have done that. So I feel a bit odd here, but I'm still gonna do it, I guess. Either way.
Go for it. Yeah.
So I've got Pope in goal, Diaz, Cancelo, and Maguire in defense. Son, Salah, Bruno, Gundogan. Currently Suchek, who's going to become Rafinha, Ings, and Bamford captain with, and I don't believe I'm actually going to say these words, Martinez on the bench. Me first sub, Antonio second sub, and Sufal third sub. So I had to look at the bookies odds, right? This Pope and Martinez thing. It's not like there's a marginal call. I think it's close to 40 to 42% for Pope and 25% for Martinez. So I have to trust the bookies with this one.
I'd have done the same. You need to do the more sensible thing. I'd have done the same in your position.
Right. So the transfer is pretty easy, and then the wild card is going to be activated right away tomorrow night.
In game week 26.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right. So let's move on to
All
the
right.
Q&A.
Okay. First question is from Tejas, FPL fan 1234. Is it time to move on from the double cities defense, considering Pep Roulette to be more prominent during the UCL period? Zoff?
It's an interesting question because I still think you'd like to. It all depends on the makeup of the rest of your defense. If you can afford to have 3 nailed-on starters in the other positions, I think you can still afford to do it. Because looking at those fixtures, I think it's pretty much whenever they turn up on the pitch, it's pretty much a guaranteed 6 points, right? You can't really say that about any other team. So it depends on the rest of your backline. If you have 3 nailed-on starters in the other positions, you can even afford if your 2 City guys get rotated.
Yeah. A little bit of thinking that happens to me is if you're worried about rotation, go with the cheapest guy. Like, it's not like Stones is going to miss a lot of games at the moment. So just go with the cheapest guy and he's offering you the best clean sheet chance at that price.
I agree.
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah.
But I would in fact go the other way. I would go with the guy with the most upside.
That's
Ultimately, because
Cancelo.
when he's on the pitch, he has the most likely of a chance to get the biggest haul.
Yeah. Fair enough. I also think Cancelo is not as disposable as the other 3 centre backs because he offers something completely different to this City team, which makes it tick. So that's
But
also
that being said, with KDB back, it's not as much required, right? Because we talked about that Monday Night Football thing with Jamie Carragher did. So while reason why Gundogan can get so much forward is because Cancelo comes in and takes up that KDB role of the quarterback. So when you have KDB there, Cancelo is a tad more dispensable also, I think.
yeah, but KDB is going to be playing the Bernardo Silva role pretty much because Silva is doing what KDB was sort of doing for that team as well, and Cancelo was doing what he was doing even while KDB was there. So that's
I agree. I
the
just think just now a little bit more than it would have been maybe in the past 1 month with KDB out.
fair. Fair. All right. Next question is from FPL Banger, the Fantasy Premier League podcast. Great pod. If you haven't heard them, worth listening to. Great account to follow on Twitter as well. Very interactive. Uh, he's this one again for you, Zoff. We're looking at them, but do you guys actually be making space for a Chelsea asset on the wildcard? Rudy the value could value pick. Alonso's heat map versus Newcastle was eye-watering. Could have some joy versus Trent in 26. And since it's tricky to work BB26 with Mo, Kane, Son, Bruno, who drops out? So actually, if you had to drop one of Mo, Salah, Kane, Son, and Bruno, would it drop?
Ooh, that's like asking which one of my toes or fingers I don't really like. It's a very
Yeah,
difficult question. Probably I would drop Sun from those.
drop. Fair enough. All right. And I think we covered Chelsea well in the first half of the pod, so I think
Yeah.
let's not go there. Bakar, this one's for you. Best defensive enablers, cheap defensive enablers in 26 and 29.
26 and 29. I like Ben White from Brighton, 4.4, plays West Brom in 26, then Newcastle at home in 29. Brighton have a very good defense at home, so I expect at least a clean sheet in either of the two fixtures. Other than that, it's tough. In 26,
If Fulham get a double game week in 26, then I think they're a great
Tete.
I guess
asset.
one of their
Tete,
defenders might
Tete is
not
very
be
good.
bad
He's
shot.
been playing
Yeah.
as a winger pretty much off late on the right side. So, while we're talking about Brighton, I have a question to ask now. I had a look at the numbers. White's attacking numbers are really poor, but somebody who's been catching the eye is Dan Burn.
Boom. Yeah.
And he's like, what, I think 4.2, right? Or something even
Yeah.
cheaper. So,
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
guys think? Is he nailed or is he an option? Because at 4.2, he's a great stocking filler.
I think he's playing on the left hand side in the Solly March position. If I'm not
Correct.
completely mistaken, I haven't been paying too much attention, and I think Solly March is out for the season. So he could potentially be nailed. It's something I need to get into the
'Cause
Brighton.
I was
fold
very
and just-
surprised against Liverpool seeing this big lumbering guy getting up with so forward so much. He had a lot of chances against Liverpool, which really caught my eye.
Good shout at 4.2 million. Again, you're not carrying too much money as well on the bench. Really good shot.
Precisely.
Fair
All
enough.
right. Question is from Kaustuk Patwardhan. I'll take it on. He's asking me if Grealish is worth getting for Game Week 26. I think yes. I feel like the player's too good to lay low for a long time, and he's returned against all the teams he's supposed to return to. So it's been predictable in terms of the returns he's gotten. Son or Vardy for Game Week 26 and beyond. Uh, that's a very tough call. I'd say Son still.
Yeah.
Yep,
I'd
I
say
agree
Son
with
because
Son.
Vardy has. I think Vardy has substitutes available in midfield who are 3 million cheaper. So that's the thing that's factoring my thinking. All right. Next question is from friend of the pod FPL A33. Worth mentioning. Best time to triple captain. We haven't discussed this from a chip strategy point of view. It's worth mentioning. Zoff, thoughts?
There are multiple views. So I think obviously you have your Spurs assets in 26 who look quite attractive in terms of triple captaincy option. It obviously depends on your chip strategy. If you're going for your BB, then not so much. And then the other options you'd probably have is the smaller double game weeks, which we're expecting for Villa or for Everton. So like I had mentioned, if Everton do get that Burnley West Brom double up, I think that could probably be a great shout for DCL. Apart from that, maybe in 27 you could fancy a City player. I mean, Gundogan played only one game, but one game is all he needed. So that is another option where you could look at. Or in a
You don't like any of the options in this game week for a triple captaincy? Leeds?
The thing is, right now you look at Bamford's last few hauls. He got the big one against Leeds, but otherwise you look at it's more like 5, 6, 8s, and all that stuff. I think he's not hit double digit as many times as I would like to this season, primarily because of the reason you said that they spread the goals around,
Correct. Fair
and
enough.
so that's probably why.
I think Spurs are the standout double in 26, so I think Son Kane seem to be the
Again,
best.
that's
triple
what it
captains.
depends on your chip strategy. If you're BBing that
Yeah.
week, then that completely you cannot go there.
Exactly.
If it's Burnley and Fulham, I'm not so confident because I think Fulham have tightened up at the back. So if Spurs are playing Burnley and Fulham, I might not even give the captaincy to Harry Kane. I'd be tempted to go Mo Salah or something of that sort because I don't think Fulham are as bad a team in defense as they used to be. They're pretty good in defense at the moment.
Absolutely agree.
I think that's it from us. Try to keep it short. Zoff, what was the time? How
R15.
15, not bad. All right, just a reminder to like, share, and subscribe. We forget to do that nowadays. It really helps our channel grow, so please do that. Congratulations to Ashwin again for winning the Manager of the Week in Game Week 24. It looks like you're not. It's a week for Ashwins, given the performance that Ravichandran Ashwin showed in the Test match as well. And you have a chance to fight for a shout out from Herschel Gibbs if you're the Manager of the Week in Game Week 25. That's a celebrity I want a shout out from. So make sure you're making your transfers correctly and try to win this prize in Game Week 25. That's it from us, and see you on the other side. Good luck, guys. Take care.
Good
Good
luck,
luck,
guys.
everyone.